Hello and welcome back to Buckle Up. I'm Harry King and this is a Mercedes eVito Tourer, or as I like to call it, Vanny eVito. As usual, we'll start here at the front where I'll point out some differences between the higher trim Select model and the lower trim Professional model. So this higher trim gets body coloured bumpers, it gets chrome grille. Overall, looks just a bit smarter and a bit more tidy than the base spec Pro model, which gets classic van, black plastic bumpers, that sort of thing. You get Mercedes' traditional corporate face squeezed in, so a nice big three-pointed star there, wrap around headlights with daytime running light signatures, and then, I mean, it's a van, so it's very tall. Is it that tall at the side? It is just as tall at the side. It's actually just over 1.9 metres tall, so even taller than Rob. It's also nearly 5.4 metres long in this L3 configuration. You can get an L2 configured, which is slightly shorter, though of course you lose some luggage space. Also here at the side-ish, well, you'd look at this and think, oh, that's where you put the fuel in a van. So therefore, this is where the electric charging port will be. But no, the electric charging port is here and opens like so. So it's convenient if you want to nose into a charger, which is how most of them work. Obviously, this is a passenger van, so you do get 3 full-sized windows on the outside here, and you do get these lovely 17-inch alloy wheels. Very premium. Is it premium round here, though? Well, there's this premium touch of Vanny eVito's badging. You've got a nice electric blue E, and then the classic Vito Tourer badging, another three-pointed star, always good for the Instagram girls and their Starbucks coffee, and obviously a massive tailgate. The van being 1,934 millimeters high, the tailgate's going to be nearly 2 meters long, so multi-story car parks are probably a no-go if you want to get into the boot. I mean, it feels unfair to call this a boot. I can sit in it without even contorting myself or anything. You can actually, allegedly, fit a Euro pallet in behind the seats if you've got them positioned correctly. I'm not sure why you would want to have a 9-seater van and also a Euro pallet, but that's a thing. Mercedes-Benz say there's 4.1 cubic meters of cargo space, which is a lot, though after all, this is a van. You also get, in the boot, your charging cables in a bag. As you can see, it's, well, they're here. That's kind of it. There's not really any kind of intelligent cubby work going on or false floors or any of that kind of stuff because it's a van. It's just a great big box to put your stuff in. You would fit many suitcases though if you were an airport taxi driver, which I imagine many of the buyers of this car are. Now though, I want to talk quickly about the seats before I get into them. These seats are removable. You might be wondering why I have a selection of hammers and a crowbar, and that's because these are the tools required if you want to refit the seats. They have one of the most infuriating seat mechanisms I have ever operated. It took us an hour and a half to fit the seats back into the van. An hour and a half. Madness. But are they comfortable to sit in? Let's find out. Okay, so I'm going to start by climbing into the third row, which actually isn't too difficult because there's just little levers on the sides of the chairs here, and then if I roll that forwards, I can step in. I've got plenty of knee room, I've got plenty of headroom. There are little slots here if you want somewhere to put your phone. There's also bottle holders down here, and there are 12-volt sockets on either side for the third row. In the second row, there's even more knee room, obviously still great headroom, and there's enough space for 3 adults to sit comfortably across the rows. You do also have down here some tethering hooks if you are using this as a proper van rather than a passenger vehicle for the day. Isofix situation, bit weird. So, you've got Isofix on the bench seats. So, the seat on the right-hand side of the vehicle and the middle seat have Isofix in both the second and third rows, but the single seats do not have Isofix. Don't know why Mercedes have done it that way, but they have. So, I mean, 4 Isofix seats is as many as you're going to get in any other vehicle, generally. So that's still impressive, but it feels odd to have not put them on these seats as well. Let's see if they've done anything odd up front. Here in the front, it's pretty trad van. You step up into the vehicle, and then you have a raised seating position. The window line is low around you, and you've got 3 seats in the front, so that's a 9-seater. It's nearly at the point where a diabetic person couldn't drive this car. In terms of the cabin, it is a bit nicer than your traditional white van. You do have a 7-inch infotainment screen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You do have pleasant silver-rimmed dials. You do have a leather-stitched steering wheel. So underneath your 7-inch infotainment display, you get your climate controls. You've got a temperature dial, and you've got a fan speed, and then you've got proper buttons to push and do everything. And you have quite swish air vents on the outside of the cabin, though in the middle you have air vents with very odd controls indeed. You've got little dials here, and you'd think, oh, well, that's how you position them. But no, that's just up and down, and this is side to side, and then this is open or closed. It's certainly a control system, I'll give it that much. You also still have a proper key to operate this van, which is fine for a van, but this is quite expensive, which I will get onto a bit later in this review. So you get cubbies up on top of the dashboard, where you could fit a red top newspaper or phones, wallets, anything. You've got a sunglasses holder up here, but you don't have any overhead bins that you get in a lot of vans. You don't have any centre cup holders. I think that's to give the middle seat passenger enough room, though it definitely looks like some could fit in here if there wasn't a middle seat passenger. You've got an okay sized glove box, and you do have bottle holders in the doors, which will fit a big bottle, and cup holders on the dashboard, though they will only fit a takeaway coffee cup or a Red Bull style skinny drinks can. The door pockets are also a really good size, but compared to most vans, it's a little sparse in terms of internal storage. You don't have any kind of centre armrest either that folds out of the seat. Obviously, compared to a normal car, this is pretty good. You do also get these little ones in the dashboard, though they're quite shallow and oddly shaped. On this side, it's half filled by the USB ports, one of which is for the Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. The other one is just a charger. And down here, you've got a 12-volt socket. You also have a little luggage net. You may have noticed, Harry, how does the handbrake work? I can't see a button or a lever. That's because Mercedes-Benz think it's 1970s America for some reason. So yeah, parking brake is foot operated. Just like on my 1993 Ford Explorer. Also like my 1993 Ford Explorer, I've got a column-mounted shifter, which then means that all your other controls end up on the left-hand side. You also have, in this model fitted, smart cruise control. Anyone who's been in a Tesla will think, hey, that looks similar. That's because Tesla used Mercedes-Benz switchgear for a long time, so it's another left-hand paddle that you move about and it does various things. But speaking of various things it can do, why don't we do some driving? Okay, so driving the Vanny eVito, or the eVito Tourer. What's it like? Well, it's mostly like a van, I'll be honest. You're raised up, you've got a great view around you, which is very traditional van. I'm quite close to the headliner. I do have the seat all the way down at the moment as well. So if you're very tall, you might struggle for headroom, but I think most drivers would be okay. Obviously, it's electric, so it's completely silent, which means you do notice that there's a slight vibration slash rattle slash rub in the steering column. You also hear all of the various groans and moans from underneath the van. And you might be thinking, well, Harry, it's a van. Of course it's not an S-Class or even a C-Class, but the problem is, to get one of these moderately spec'd, you're looking at £75,000, 77. Everything's an option. Climate control is an option. Cruise control is an option. Sat-nav is an option. I mean, you always get Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, but when your base price is £69,000, maybe that's a bit tight. You do get a big battery. You get a 100 kilowatt hour battery with 90 usable kilowatt hours which does give you a WLTP range of about 220 miles. In the real world, I think you'd probably get around 180 to 150 miles doing normal driving on the motorway with the aircon on and that kind of thing. You will save yourself a surprising amount of range by turning off the climate control. I've been driving nearly everywhere with the window down. But round town, it'll do really well. I've got less than half of the battery left and I've got over 100 miles of range. So round town, it's great. This would make a lot of sense as maybe the shuttle bus for a nice resort to collect people from the airport, or a more premium airport taxi service, or a more premium inner city taxi service where people might want a lot of luggage space. Obviously, if you're just doing the inner city taxi thing, maybe you'll get away with the shorter wheelbase. This one kind of screams, I need to get 6 people and all their luggage in the back. But it has its place. But as a private buyer, if you just want an electric van, there's the ID Buzz. It's bespoke, it's ground up, it's got more range. Yes, it doesn't have as many seats, but it looks nicer on the outside, it's more individualized. You've also got just the normal VW Multivan if you just need a van or a vehicle with lots of seats in it. Obviously that's not electric though, but it does have many seats. And there's a whole slew of 3-row SUVs you could also consider. So the fact this is skimping on options makes me think it's not even trying to go up against them. I think this is squarely aimed at sort of fleet buyers. Acceleration's good, especially around town. You've got 150 kilowatts or 204 PS and 366 newton meters of torque, which is quite a lot. All of that happens from 0 RPM, as it is an electric motor. It's attached to the front wheels, though it doesn't ever scrabble if I put my foot down now. It's just a pleasant surge of power. I should say that 150 kilowatts of power is only under boost circumstances. Most of the time it'll be outputting 70 kilowatts in order to achieve a greater range effectively. So the power's there when you need it, but otherwise it's being frugal, it's being economical. Charging speed, it'll go from 0 to 80% in 40 minutes on a 120 kilowatts charger. It'll charge at about 110 kilowatts. Or it can charge overnight from a 3-phase power output in about 10 hours, so you could do overnight charging. So again, say you wanted to run a taxi service, shuttle bus, something like that. You'd run around all day delivering people from wherever to wherever with their luggage, and then overnight you'd slap it on your economy 7 power supply and you get 7 hours of super cheap charging, and then you could just, top up the last few hours on normal charging costs. But it would be a very cheap way to run that kind of service. It would still though take a considerable amount of time to make those savings back against the cost of just filling up with diesel. Dynamically on the road, the steering's nice and weighty. You can feel the heft of the vehicle, but in a sort of pleasant and appropriate way. There's plenty of lean and roll in the corners. The suspension is quite soft. The rebound is quite slack. I do find sometimes when you go over a bump, you're like nodding donkey a little bit, but it's comfortable. It smooths out the road. I can feel where the wheels are pointing. It's actually not bad to drive down a back road. And brakes plus regen give you a decent amount of stopping power. You don't feel that you couldn't bring this to a stop quickly if you needed to. As I did there for those pedestrians. It's very well rounded. Mercedes have put all of the knowledge they've gained from their EQ electric vehicles into this, so it is a competent electric vehicle. They're very experienced with commercial. It's a competent commercial vehicle. It does lots of things very well, but the usage case is so specific and the price of entry is so high. It's a real thinker, I'll be honest. I certainly wouldn't recommend this to a private buyer. If you want a really, really nice electric van from Mercedes-Benz, spend the extra, get the V-Class. It's very luxurious and very nice. This is still kind of vanny. So just, you know, if it's what you want, spend the money, get the V-Class. With that being said, let's go and conclude. Is it a good van? Yes. Is it a good electric vehicle? Yes, the range is a little tight, but it's well rounded. However, I, in good conscience, cannot recommend to a private buyer that they should spend the best part of 80 grand on one of these. If you want to buy an electric van, go look at an ID Buzz. If you want to buy an electric taxi, fantastic. But I do not know how many of you will be watching my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. You'll find all the links to all of our social media down in the description. You'll also find 2 ways to support the channel. We have channel memberships right here on YouTube where you can join up monthly or give thanks, and we have a merch store where you can buy cool hats and mugs and coasters and t-shirts and maybe even bags and bottles. So please go do one or all of those things, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.